it also has to do with things like the Hitler Youth Group actually went around fixing up houses and also doing all kinds of they started lemonade stands, and it wasn't really even the Hitler Youth Group. It was actually some people in Germany. Germany, like I said, had really bad water, really bad electrical grid. The children decided to start taking part. So they actually started doing lemonade stands, and Jewish people made a lot of money and basically, um, well, what there was there was a lot of finances or whatever. Anyway, it has to do with some really bad wrongs about thousands of years ago, where people have been being slaughtered this entire time. Basically, kill them and then go live in their houses or something like that, which I don't really understand because there's technically plenty of living space. Um, anyway, it has to do with some very wrong deeds about, you know, like I've said, Mexico slaughtering millions of people there, basically having people work really hard and then just slaughtering them. It has to do with what happened to the blacks, what happened to the Jewish. There were work parties working, and they believed in something, and they believed in me, and they believed in the future, and they were slaughtered. So, or maybe even worse, they killed themselves to be with me, which is almost just as bad. I said I would never ask anyone to take poison intentionally or kill themselves or sacrifice themselves. I don't do that. In fact, some of the best people that I ever had gave themselves to me their entire lives. For 70 years, they served, basically guiding and teaching and taking part in humanity and civilization as best they can. Those people actually did the most. Yeah, it goes back to the 1900s to the 1700s. It has to do with how humanity technically always knew me as their creator. So, and it also has to do with certain people like Nixon who just don't care. You know, they actually look for a loophole with God, with me. And there really isn't any loopholes, but they think there is. So they start doing things. And then they lie to the people of the world. So, and they also almost cause a paradox. Or they do cause a paradox because of it. Anyway, because time travel was being used. So, anyway, it has to do with all these things. You know, who I was, my capabilities, things I've done. It also has to do with, like I said, I was able to have things done using time travel, using end humanity. And a couple groups lied to the world, saying that it was them or that they had some sort of control or power. Anyway, it gets very deep and very crazy. It has to do with Germany. It has to do with me inventing engines. It has to do with steam power. It has to do with how, I did this thing. Well, I'm the creator of humanity. So, yeah, I can do these things. I mean, people love me a lot. They knew me as their creator and their best ruler ever. So, anyway, that's why they shred so many documents. Because the Bushes are trying to cover up, the Kennedys are trying to cover up, the senators are trying to cover up. They're trying to cover up what they've been doing in the world. And then it has to do with me creating the UN. It has to do with me creating what's called diplomats and creating this huge system. It has to do with how certain people knew that I was Tsar of Russia and leader of Germany and leader of America, and they know what they've been doing. And they know that I'm going to tell you or that you're going to find out on your own. So, anyway, it has to do with all that. It has to do with how, like, I go back from before the pyramids. I'm older than the pyramids by quite a bit. So, or at least my line of my existence goes that way. So, that's why there's shredding of documents. That's why there's all this stuff being done, because they're trying to hide the fact that they've basically been treating me pretty badly for the last 40 years, and I'm the creator of humanity. It has to do with how they said Lucifer lies when I've never lied. In fact, I had the best rating ever. So I always kept my word and always did what I said I was going to do. So it has to do with that. So anyway, and like I say, it gets pretty deep. It gets into like how the American government was basically, they were denying me, lying to everyone about me. So anyway, like I say, about 1,000,000 years you'll figure it out, or 100,000 years, 1,000 years. Doesn't really matter to me. Like I say, technically you've already figured it out, and you already know. Like I said, others told me, we're not going to believe you, because we didn't believe you. But we believe you now. Because they eventually did get to see the proof of it. So, or at least when they finally looked. Like I say, at first nobody really had noticed about the commemorations. Apparently, no one had ever thought about all the eagles and all the uniforms and how I was leading the military from the beginning and using the military as a police force and a building force, and how I go all around the world with every military. How I was the start of military and religion and government. So, and my choices made what people consider the military and police and government. Anyway, like I say, it gets pretty deep, really. It gets to be this great big huge massive force that is pretty ridiculous. And anyway, so certain people knew this. Like I say, you can see it in the commemorations, the eagle. How did Germany have an eagle as a symbol on their uniforms and on their stuff? It means flight. It has to do with me. The star, America. It has to do with how I'm connected to everything and actually in existence before all that, and then coming up to all that. And then how somebody lied the last 40 years. They got all kinds of people to build all kinds of stuff. Like, towns were built for starving refugees, and the starving refugees were supposed to be moved, and instead of being moved, these towns were used as basically vacation spots for the Illuminati. So those suffering people never got houses, and in fact, maybe they even got exterminated instead. Anyway, it has to do with some people just not having a conscience, I guess. Anyway, I don't know. So yeah, that's why there's a lot of shredding of documents. That's why there's a lot of things. It has to do with the Pope having millions of dollars or billions of dollars. Well, not really, not always. I made them more profitable. Like I said, I've always been good with business. So, and I've always been good with leading people. So I was always able to lead humanity in the right direction. Very quickly, even. So, didn't even take that long. Like I said, 150 years is all I would really ever need to really get a lot of things to happen. So, anyway, that's why all the shredding of documents, that's why everything. And maybe some people do choose to be suicide bombers. Maybe they think they're... I'd hate to think that some people actually blow themselves up just to get noticed by me. It's like, you don't have to do that to get noticed by me. I live right here in Santa Barbara, California, United States of America. So this whole country technically was built for me and built by my decisions. And by all the other groups that actually, like I say, I helped all these other groups. That's why they're here in America. I've led them throughout the thousands of years to this America. It's actually one group laid on top of another and top of another, top of another. America is like lots of groups together flying in formation, time and space, basically, kind of.